Good afternoon, dear students. Today's lecture is a continuation of the previous lecture, and it is devoted to aspects of translation process. The plan of the lecture contains the following questions: the notion of a translation transformation and its types, lexical transformations, grammatical transformations, and lexical grammatical transformations. Depending on the character of the SL units, translational transformations can be divided into lexical, grammatical, and lexical grammatical transformations. Lexical transformations are divided into translational transcription, loan translation, and lexical semantic substitutes. The first group of operations or transformations, translational transcription, is characterized by imitation of the form of a word or of a collocation. The translator tries to represent the pronunciation or the spelling of the foreign word with the TL letters. For example, skateboarding, skateboarding, inspector, inspector, absurdist, absurdist, bonesferi, bonesferi. In the second case, the translator creates a blueprint collocation in TL by using a loan translation. So, loan translation is a word taken from one language and translated in a literal or word-for-word way to be used in another. For example, White House, Белый дом, first strike, weapon, оружие первого удара, superpower, сверхдержава, mass culture, массовая культура. The third type of lexical transformations includes all types of lexical transformations involving certain semantic changes and are called lexical semantic substitutes. As a result, the meaning of a word or word combination in ST may be made more specific, more general, or somewhat modified as a way to discovering an appropriate equivalent in TL. That's why we divide the lexical semantic substitutes as specification, generalization, and modulation. What is specification? The choice of a more specific word in translation, which gives a more detailed description of the idea than does a word in SL. For example, he was at the ceremony. Он присутствовал на церемонии. At 7 o'clock, an excellent meal was served in the dining room. В 7 часов в столовой был подан отличный обед. Next is generalization. The opposite procedure, that is, the use of an equivalent with a more general meaning, is not so common in translations from English into Russian. For example, he visits me practically every weekend. The weekend is translated in the following way: Он ездит ко мне почти каждую неделю. Or another example, Jane used to drive to market with her mother in their La Salle convertible. Jane ездила со своей матерью на рынок в их машине. Here, as we see, the make of the car is not mentioned in translation. Next is modulation. Another type of lexical transformations is often called modulation. It involves the creation of an equivalent by replacing a unit in SL with a TL unit, the meaning of which can be logically deduced from it, and which is just another way of referring to the same object or an aspect of the same situation. Let's consider the following sentence. People who have tried it tell me that a clear conscience makes you very happy and contented. Некоторые люди, ссылаясь на собственный опыт, утверждают, что чистая совесть делает человека веселым и счастливым. Translation of who have tried it is hardly possible, but if somebody has tried something, he has some experience about it. So the translation of who have tried it may run as follows, ссылаясь на собственный опыт. The third group of translating procedures comprises all types of transformations involving units of SL grammar. They are zero translation, partitioning, integration, and grammatical changes. Zero translation. The translator may solve his problems by preserving the syntactic structure of the source text and using the analogous TL grammatical forms or a word-for-word translation. This may be called a zero translation and can be easily exemplified. I always remember his words. Я всегда помню его слова. Я always всегда remember, помню, his, его, words, слова. John took Mary by the hand. John взял Мэри за руку. Next method, partitioning. As a rule, the translator renders the original text sentence by sentence and the number of sentences remains the same. However, it may so happen that the structural and semantic problems of a translation event can be best solved by breaking an original sentence into two parts. That is, translating it with two sentences in TL, or is to replace a simple sentence in the original with a complex one in the translation comprising one or several subordinate clauses. For example, this man was to be seen to be understood. Чтобы понять этого человека, его надо увидеть. Next one, integration. The opposite procedure means integrating two or more original sentences into one, compressing a complex sentence into a simple one. This technique is also used both for structural and semantic reasons. For example, that was a long time ago. It seemed like 50 years ago. Это было давно, казалось, что прошло лет 50. Here, two simple sentences of the original language are integrated into one in translation. Grammatical changes. This method is characterized by the translator's refusal to use analogous grammatical units in TT. He tries to render the meaning of SL units by changing the grammatical form of a word, the part of speech, or the type of the sentence. Such changes are very common, and the translator should never hesitate to use them whenever necessary. For example, we are searching for talent everywhere. Мы повсюду ищем таланты. Talent in singular, in the translation, таланты in the plural. I'm a rapid packer. Я очень быстро укладываюсь. Packer, укладываюсь. Lexical grammatical transformations. They ensure the required degree of equivalence by a number of changes of both lexical and grammatical nature. They involve a different arrangement of ideas, a different point of view, and other semantic modifications whenever direct translation of a SL unit proves impossible. Lexical grammatical transformations is divided into antonymous translation, explicatory translations, and compensation technique. A typical example of such a procedure is the so-called antonymous translation, describing the situation as it were from the opposite point of view and rendering an affirmative SL structure by a negative TL1 or vice versa. For example, the door was not unbolted, дверь была на засове, or nothing changed in my hometown, все осталось прежним в моем родном городе. A complex change also occurs in explicatory translations in which a SL unit is replaced by a TL word combination describing or defining its meaning. A demonstration of British conservationists was held in Trafalgar Square yesterday. Вчера на Трафальгарском сквере состоялась демонстрация английских сторонников охраны окружающей среды. And the last one, compensation technique. Compensation technique is a deliberate introduction of some additional elements in translation to make up for the loss of similar elements at the same or an earlier stage. For example, let's consider an extract taken from the translation of Bernard Shaw's play. I'm nothing to you, not so much as them slippers. Я для вас ничто хуже вот этих туфлей. And Professor Higgins corrects her saying, those slippers. The linguistic error in the episode is untranslatable and its loss makes this dialogue meaningless. But the loss can be compensated for by introducing a mistake and its correction at a point where everything is correct in the original, but where a Russian speaker is likely to make it. As a result, in the translation, Eliza says, «Я для вас ничто хуже вот этих туфлей», and Higgins can self-religiously correct her туфель. The compensation method is often used to render the stylistic or emotional implications of the original. That's all. Thank you for your attention.